Yo, yo. Should I, should I do it again? Anyway, this is gonna be a video about Hong Kong, China's Hong Kong, and I mean, for me, it's a, what am I gonna say? An issue that's, what's the best word to like describe this issue? I mean, a lot can be said. A lot can be said. I mean, a lot can be said about this issue, and I mean, let's just start. We're gonna deal with background and history about Hong Kong first, and then we're gonna have some nuggets of interesting related but side info, and then we are going to make some conclusions. Okay. So the background to the Hong Kong issue is that Hong Kong is a city, a place in China, and Hong Kong was China since, well, basically the beginning of China as we know it. And Hong Kong is inside of China. It's not an island in some ocean or some sea far away from China, and it's basically in China's continuous land area. If you look at, I mean, China's, because I mean there is some water between there's no water. There are waters in Hong Kong, but I mean, like, there's still, Hong Kong is still connected, like under in the shallow waters, like, you know. Anyway, it's China. Okay. So why is Hong Kong an issue in like media and in general? The problem is that Hong Kong was stolen by thieves that attacked China in order to hurt people. In order to hurt people, these thieves, these racists, these mass murderers of black people for fun and racism, they came to China to attack China and steal things. So that's the problem. That's the problem with Hong Kong. Thieves, racists, mass murderers of black people, terrorists against black people, stole Hong Kong from China. Okay, so these mass murderers of black people have been murdering black people for fun for almost 1,000 years. They're thieves, they're racists, they are terrorists against black people, like murder, organized murder of black people. And my definition of a terrorist is a member of an organized mass murder of civilians. So I mean, I believe that that's terrorism. Okay, so these mass murderers of black people, they have a lot of names. UK, United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales, Britain, Great Britain. What is the point of all those names? It doesn't matter, because they murder black people for fun for almost 1,000 years. And these people, these thieves, attacked China to steal Hong Kong. And they did it to hurt people, hurt civilians. So, they mass murdered black people for fun and racism for almost 1,000 years. Then they get woke. People need to get woke about that. I mean, if you like want to be Black Lives Matter, you need to get woke about who's been murdering black people for almost 1,000 years. And then you need to think about that when you hear conspiracies about China and Hong Kong and, oh, whoa, China is so evil. No, China did not kill black people for almost 100 years for fun. You know, they didn't do that. So these organized murderers, mass murderers of black people, from, yeah, I'm not gonna call them any of those whatever names they. There's so many names. I'm not gonna call these mass murderers of black people like whatever. Like, I'm not, you know. Oh, where were we? I mean, it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. Like, it's very disturbing. Like, it's very disturbing. So, I mean, about that. I mean, all of these years later, there has been no justice. There's no justice. Black people don't get justice. They don't get justice. But I mean, we do get woke. So I mean, think about that. That country still exists with its 15 names, and get woke about it. Get woke about it. Get woke about it. Like, their sins are like historical facts. Like, I mean, just get woke about it. They've been murdering black people for almost 1,000 years, and they stole Hong Kong. So I mean, China supports black people. Black Lives Matter to China. That's for sure. Okay, okay, so that's basically the issue about media, Hong Kong, why Hong Kong is a problem. Hong Kong was stolen by terrorists against black people who murdered black people for fun for almost 1,000 years. And this media conspiracy that comes from the country that murdered black people for fun for almost 1,000 years. That media, and then combined with American media, screams this anti-China narrative, these conspiracies that Hong Kong is some kind of like special unicorn that China is hurting and damaging. No, Hong Kong was stolen by mass murderers of black people. So I mean, that's the end. That's the end of the discussion. That's the end of this discussion. Like, sympathy for mass murderers is somehow gonna be like a narrative against China. No, stop. I mean, please stop killing black people, America, before you spread this idiot conspiracy. Like, stop. It's over. It's over. It's over. You can stop that conspiracy now. Hong Kong was China's, and it will always be China's. We don't have sympathy for mass murderers of black people, or whatever they did. And do you want to know what these mass murderers of black people did in Hong Kong later? They were drug dealers. They spread drugs, narcotics, through Hong Kong. So it's over. It's over. It's all over. It's over. Okay, we can just do the side info later because I mean, they murdered Indians too. These mass murderers against black people from Britain. That British people have murdered black people for fun for almost 1,000 years. Hundreds of thousands, probably millions, for fun, for almost 1,000 years. And then they murdered 3 million Indians too. And then they stole Hong Kong from China. I mean, there's the evil conspiracy just continues, like just, oh. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of things to say about that. So, I mean, okay. So this whole basis of a narrative that China is evil against Hong Kong when Hong Kong is China's, it's based on nonsense. It's based on nonsense. It's based on like, it's an evil, psychologically disturbed conspiracy. But I mean, conspirators will use anything. Omit facts, remove facts, remove relevant information to spread some hysterical and sensational narrative mixed with propaganda to like make another country look bad. So I mean, check yourself. So there is no uniqueness or like special treatment or whatever that China should uphold in Hong Kong. I mean, narrative, like, it's just irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. I mean, you can't just murder black people for fun for almost 1,000 years, hundreds or millions of black people murdered for fun like that, and then be like, oh, Hong Kong needs to be treated specially. What? How about you resurrect the black people you murdered? You can't? Well, that's what happens when you... there's nothing to discuss. I mean, the only reason, the only way this conspiracy against China and Hong Kong's, separate, favorability and whatever. I mean, the only way that would work is if a person would like support the team that murdered black people for fun for 1,000 years. Hundreds and thousands or maybe millions of black people, probably millions of black people murdered for almost 1,000 years, and like drug propagation. That's the only way you would support the narrative of Hong Kong needing to be separate from China. Because mass murderers of black people for almost 1,000 years did that. They separated Hong Kong from China. So, I mean, if you want to support these mass murderers of black people, if you hate black people, if you're a racist, if you're a drug dealer, then I mean, you belong to the people who, follow the conspiracy against China about Hong Kong. But I mean, well, like Britain, England, whatever they call themselves, they did the same thing in Africa. They stole cities, they stole land, they stole countries in Africa, and then mass murdered the black people, the local people, the tribes, the low-developed civilizations for fun, just to steal their gold, steal their resources, and so on. And I mean, they just murdered black people. They hated black people. They were racist, and they are racists. And I mean, the only reason they stopped doing that was because they became a weak country, a weak island that's basically irrelevant now, that just, spits out a bunch of anti-China news from Reuters and so on. And I mean, I mean, evil doesn't stop, it just changes. So I mean, there's nothing to defend about the theft of Hong Kong or Hong Kong's separate Hong Kong's separate construct. I mean, this romantic, fantastical fantasy about Hong Kong as some kind of good place or whatever. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It's just a fake narrative about to cover up the crimes about what happened in Hong Kong and Africa. To murder black people for fun. So I mean, and there has never been justice, not for Hong Kong and not for Africa, or black people mass murdered for 1,000 years. So I mean, time to get woke, time to know history, time to know that time to know about the active conspiracies against China that just based on trash and nonsense to cover up real crimes. It's just I mean, the main point about this conspiracy narrative that is used to attack China is that they scream no democracy, no democracy, no democracy, so China is evil and Hong Kong must be the good thing that must be protected. But China didn't kill black people for almost 1,000 years under its system, which was not democracy. China didn't kill any black people. They didn't mass murder black people, so it doesn't matter what their political system is. If you murder black people for almost 1,000 years for fun, it doesn't matter what your political system is. You're evil. And if you have democracy, then your democracy was evil. So I mean, they can scream about this no democracy nonsense about China while black people die in the American democracy. They can scream about that until they choke. Because George Floyd, a black man, choked to death under the knee of racism in America's democracy. Like, scream more about how China has no democracy and don't kill black people, while America continues to kill black people under a racist democratic system. Like, this conspiracy is based on nothing. It's based on nothing because none of the arguments work. None of the arguments work. Okay, so what is Hong Kong to China? Hong Kong tolerated the problem of Hong Kong, the problematic situation of Hong Kong, because China was busy dealing with other more important problems, like a civil war and well, more important things, building a modern country. So China tolerated this problematic system, and then gradually used Hong Kong as a convenient, fake construct to bring in international capital to experiment with a freer flow of money between China and other countries. So Hong Kong was a fake, kind of crazy construct that China, you know, took advantage of to pump in international money into China. So, okay. Okay, what other things are Hong Kong? Hong Kong was a fake construct, and it had like a different political system than the rest of China, and the instability of such a situation, like just imagine like one city in any country running under a different political system, under a different government. Just, would the rest of the population like that? The special treatment of one city? Would there be a risk of like a war? An armed conflict? I mean, it wouldn't even be like a war or an armed conflict because it's a city. It cannot, you know, it cannot defend itself against the rest of the country. Like, I mean, it's just insane. It was a fake construct. It was a fake construct. So, I mean, I mean, honestly, wouldn't America kind of like it if they were able to influence one city in every country and, you know, basically prop up them as, you know, separate political entities, and then, you know, you know. But would that be tenable, or would there be a risk of conflict? I mean, like, just stop. Hong Kong was a fake, idiotic construct, but China took advantage and used it to introduce international capital. But I mean, China didn't need Hong Kong to introduce international capital. So I mean, it was just a fake construct that, I mean, that had to, like, it had to stop. It had to stop. Okay, so about Hong Kong as a prosperous city. Hong Kong under China, or you know, Hong Kong as, you know, Hong Kong will continue to have prosperity. Hong Kong, like every other Chinese city, has access to education, jobs, culture, entertainment, and housing. Although the house situation is maybe not the best, but I mean, like, it will probably become better, like other Chinese cities. So it will have this now, and it will have it in the future, and that's all it needs. And this fake construct, this unstable type of crazy political difference situation, that will not be a problem anymore. So let's go to the conclusion. And I already know that how Hong Kong was stolen by Britain, the country that mass murdered black people for almost 1,000 years. Hundreds and thousands, probably millions of black people murdered by Britain for fun and racism for almost 1,000 years. And those mass murderers also stole Hong Kong from China. Now that we know that, we need to ask a question. Thieves, do thieves own what they steal? If thieves steal a car, do they own that car? If thieves steal a house, do they own that house? Do racists own what they steal? do mass murderers of black people own what they steal? Do they? Why would there be international support for racists and mass murderers of black people to, you know, have ownership of something that they steal? What is the insane level of conspiracy in that argument? What the F is happening? If these mass murderers of black people stole Nigeria, which they did, should these Nigerians still be slaves under these island racist mass murderers? Or should they belong to their own country? Should Nigeria's capital still belong to the mass murderers of black people? Should Nigeria's capital be separate from Nigeria, run under its own political system because of these mass murderers of black people from Britain? Why do conspirators write such nonsense about China? Why? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The conspiracy does not work. It does not work. It's based on crazy. It's based on crazy. And black people have not gotten justice yet. So think about the justice for black people that were mass murdered by people of Britain, or whatever they call themselves, for almost 1,000 years. Britain murdered for almost 1,000 years hundreds and thousands, I want to say millions and millions of black people for almost 1,000 years for fun and racism. And black people have never gotten justice. Never. Instead, people fed this conspiracy nonsense that distract from the real problem. Hundreds and thousands, millions of black people murdered. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matter. And I mean, we just need to get woke-er about this and then see so that this dumb propaganda, so this dumb conspiracy stops. Like, we are woke. This conspiracy is over. It's over. Hong Kong was China's. It was part of China, and it is China's. And it will always be China's. They are Chinese people. I mean, slave traders and mass murderers of black people for fun and racism from Britain, they can steal cities, they can lynch 1 million black people, but the cities and the land doesn't belong to them, even after they steal it. They don't belong to these mass murderers of black people, not morally, not justice, nothing. And now it's just some weak island country somewhere in the sea somewhere. Couldn't even try to like mass murder black people now. Because it's just an island country. Weak and irrelevant. Full of crimes. And standing on the corpses of black people they mass murdered for almost 1,000 years. For fun and racism. I mean, crazy. Very crazy. The conspiracy is over. It's over. It's over.